Hello students, this is our next module of the chapter The Mughal Chronicles, that is the chapter number 9. So in our last module we have read about the Mughal Chronicles, how they were produced, and at last we have basically read about Akbarnama and Badshahनामा. So अब हम ये पढ़ेंगे कि ये जो क्रॉनिकल्स हैं जो इतनी पुरानी थी इनको फिर किस तरह से इनको रिवाइज किया गया एंड हु वर द पीपल हु हैज़ ट्रांसलेटेड दीज in other languages as well. So during the colonial period, British administrators began to study Indian history and they wanted to create an archive of knowledge about the subcontinent to help them better understand the people and the cultures of empire they sought to rule. अपने जहाँ पे अब ब्रिटिशर्स रूल करना चाहते हैं इन द 18th सेंचुरी, जब ब्रिटिशर्स का कंट्रोल इंडिया पे स्ट्रॉन्ग हो गया, अपने कौन सी कंट्री पर वो रूल कर रहे हैं उसको और समझने के लिए उन्होंने ट्राई किया कि वो जितनी भी सारे जो पुरानी बुक्स हैं उनको पढ़ें ताकि उनको इंडियन सबकॉन्टिनेंट के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन मिले. So the Asiatic Society of Bengal, which was founded by Sir William Jones in 1784, very important, undertook the editing, printing and translation of many Indian manuscripts. Edited version of Akbarnama and Badshahnaama were first published by Asiatic Society in the 19th century. In the early 20th century, Akbarnama was translated into English by Henry Beveridge after years of hard labor. Because Persian में लिखी हुई थी तो it was very difficult for him to translate, but it was Henry Beveridge who has translated Akbarnama in English. Only excerpts from Badshahnaama have been translated into English till date. अभी तक उसका translation पूरा नहीं हो पाया है. Now we are going to read about another important topic, which is the notion of the ideal kingdom. So court chronicles drew upon many sources to show that the power of Mughal king came directly from the god. एक ideal kingdom की जो मुगल kingdom है वो एक ideal kingdom है. अब फॉर अ सब्जेक्ट जो लोग वहाँ पे रह रहे हैं उनके लिए वो एक आइडल किंगडम है, इससे अच्छा उनके लिए कोई किंगडम नहीं हो सकता. उसके लिए एज in every history that we have studied, the rulers try to associate themselves directly from God. So now we are going to read कि किस तरह से मुगल्स ने अपना आइडल किंगडम की जो ये फिलोसफी है, ये नोशन है, इसको इस्टेब्लिश किया. तो सबसे पहले लाइक ऑल द किंग्स दे स्टार्टेड बेसिकली एसोसिएटिंग देमसेल्फ डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम गॉड, और ये मुगल क्रॉनिकल्स में it is written about them. So one of the legends it narrated was that of the Mongol queen Alankua, who was impregnated by a ray of sunshine which rested in her tent. The offering she bore carried the divine light and passed it on from one generation to another. So जो मंगोल, as we know कि जो मुगल्स हैं they have actually traced their lineage from Mongols as well. So इस तरह से उन्होंने एक जो पुरानी आप बोल सकते हो कि एक बहुत लेजेंड्स चलते आ रहे हैं उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट किया अपने कल्चर में, अपनी रिटन क्रॉनिकल में, सो दैट दे कैन मेक पीपल बिलीव दैट दे आर एसोसिएटेड विद गॉड डायरेक्टली. According to this idea, the divine light was transmitted to the king, who then became the source of spiritual guidance for his subjects. So Mughal painting transmitted these ideas in a way that left a lasting impression on the minds of the viewers. तो जैसे कि आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं ये जहांगीर का पोर्ट्रेट है, ये जो फोर्थ मुगल एम्पर थे जहांगीर, तो वो उसी तरह से अपनी इमेज को पेंट करते थे कि ताकि लोगों का लॉन्ग लास्टिंग उनका विजन में ये चीज़ रहे. So Mughal artists from 17th century onwards began to portray emperors wearing the halo, which they saw on European paintings of Christ and the Virgin Mary to symbolize the light of God. तो जो इनके पीछे आप हेलो दिख रहे हैं जहांगीर के हेड के पीछे, तो वो क्या सिग्निफाई करता है, दैट दे आर डायरेक्टली कनेक्टेड विद द गॉड. नाउ Mughal chronicles present the empire as comprising many different ethnic and religious communities, which we have discussed earlier as well. यहाँ पे हिंदूज थे, जैनास थे, ज़ोरास्ट्रियन थे, मुस्लिम थे. It was a composite culture. अब now how they could unify all of them, एक यूनिफाइड फोर्स चाहिए था कि जहाँ पे इतने सारे कल्चर्स के, इतने सारे रिलीजन के लोग एक साथ रह सकें. So as the source of all peace and stability, the emperor stood above all religious and ethnic groups, mediated among them and ensured that justice and peace prevail. Therefore, Abul Fasl describes the idea of Sulh-e-Kul, which is absolute peace, as the cornerstone of enlightened rule. ये सुलह-ए-कुल ये बेसिकली आप बोल सकते एक फिलोसफी थी जो कि अकबर ने स्टार्ट करी थी, which means absolute peace. So in Sulh-e-Kul, it is very important, all regions of schools of thought had freedom to express, but on the condition that they did not undermine the authority of the state or fight among themselves. The idea of Sulekul was implemented through state policies. The nobility under Mughals was a composite one. Like जैसे जो उनका मुगल एम्पायर में अलग अलग रीजन के अलग अलग ट्रेडिशन के लोग रहते थे, उसी तरह जो उनकी नोबिलिटी है वो भी क्या थी, कॉम्पोजिट थी. इट comprised Iranis, Turanis, Afghanis, Rajput, Dakkanis, all of whom were given position and awards purely on the basis of their service and loyalty to the king. So ये सब चीज़ें थी जिससे they have created a unified force that was loyal to the emperor. Further, Akbar abolished the tax on pilgrimage in 1563, very important, and jizya was a tax that was imposed on the non muslim, तो उन्होंने उसको भी remove कर दिया था 1564 में, as two were based on religious discrimination. Instructions were sent to the officials of the empire to follow the precept of Sulekul in administration, which means absolute peace, that everyone should be tolerant of each other. All Mughal emperors gave grants to support the buildings and maintenance of places of worship. Not only they were giving grants to just the Muslims, but the people of other tradition and religion as well. Even when temples were destroyed during wars, grants were later issued for their repair, as we know from the reigns of Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. However, during the reign of Aurangzeb, the jizya was reimposed on non-Muslim subjects. Now, sovereignty as social contract की तरह, that if if all the people, the relation between the sovereign and the people is a social contract. अगर वो लोग completely emperor पर believe रखेंगे, then in return emperor will protect their subject. So Abul Fazl defines sovereignty as a social contract. The emperor protects the four essence of his subjects, namely life, property, honor and faith, and in return demands obedience and the share of resources. Now another important topic is the capital and court of the Mughals. So the capital cities, they actually keep on changing from time to time, and now we are going to read in detail that how these capital cities and courts kept on changing and what was the importance of these changes. So the heart of Mughal Empire was its capital city where the court assembled. The capital city of Mughals frequently shifted during the 16th and the 17th centuries. Babur took over Lodi, capital of Agra. During the 4 years of his reign, the court was frequently on the move because he was always involved in one or the other conquest. So therefore court हमेशा जहाँ emperor रहता था वहीं पर उनका पूरा court भी move करता था. During 1560, Akbar had the fort of Agra constructed with red sandstone which was brought from the adjoining regions. Then in 1570s, he decided to build a new capital, Fatehpur Sikri. One of the reasons prompting this may have been that Sikri was located on the direct road to Ajmer, where the Dargah of Sheikh Mohinuddin Chishti has become an important pilgrimage center. इसलिए अकबर ने पहले उनकी कैपिटल आगरा थी, फिर उसको कहाँ शिफ्ट कर दिया था, फतेहपुर सीकरी, which is very close to Agra. You can see how beautifully फतेहपुर सीकरी is being constructed. कितनी सुंदर यहाँ पे बिल्कुल carvings है, and you can also see the बुलंद दरवाज़ा which was actually constructed, जो कि दिखाता है कि अकबर्स victory on the Gujarat. And the style of these architecture was Indo-Persian. Indian styles भी थे और Persian style को मिला के इन्हें बनाया गया था. So the enormous arch gateway Buland Darwaza was meant to remind visitors of the Mughal victory in Gujarat. In 1585, the capital was transferred to Lahore to bring under northwest control. तो because जब उनको ये लगा कि it is very important कि नॉर्थ वेस्ट जो जहाँ पे बहुत क्योस हो रहा था उसको कंट्रोल में लाने के लिए फिर अकबर ने अपनी कैपिटल कहाँ शिफ्ट कर दी थी कुछ टाइम के लिए, लाहौर. सो लेटर ऑन शाहजहां परस्यूड sound fiscal policies and accumulated enough money to indulge his passion for building. We all know that Shah Jahan has under Shah Jahan a lot of architecture was constructed. So in 1648 the court, army and household moved from Agra to newly completed imperial capital, that was Shahjahanabad. It was a new addition to the old resident city of Delhi with Red Fort, the Jamia Masjid, a 3-line Espedal and Bazaar. Chandni Chowk are spacious home for the nobility. Now, as we all know that the capitals were very important, जितनी इम्पोर्टेंट कैपिटल्स थी उतने ही इम्पोर्टेंट मुगल कोर्ट भी था। तो एम्प्रर का दिन अब हम रीड करेंगे कि किस तरह से एम्प्रर अपना डे, what was his daily routine. So the emperor began his day at sunrise with personal religious devotions or prayers and then appeared on a small balcony, the Jharoka, facing the east. Below, a crowd of people waited for a view darshan of the emperor. So ये सारी actually जो practices हैं ये इसलिए हैं ताकि they can create a notion of devotion among the subjects for the emperor. झरोका दर्शन भी अकबर ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया था विद द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ ब्रॉडनिंग द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ इम्पीरियल अथॉरिटी एज पार्ट ऑफ पॉपुलर फेथ. आफ्टर स्पेंडिंग एन आवर एट झरोका द एम्प्रर वॉक टू द पब्लिक हॉल ऑफ ऑडियंस दीवाने आम, जहाँ पे वो अपने प्राइमरी बिजनेस जो उनका डे टू डे होता था और जो लोगों की प्रॉब्लम्स होती थी उनको सुनते थे. स्टेट ऑफिशियल्स वहाँ पे अपनी रिपोर्ट वगैरह प्रेजेंट करते थे. एंड 2 hours लेटर एम्प्रर वॉज इन दीवाने खास टू होल्ड प्राइवेट ऑडियंसेस and discuss some confidential matters. High ministers of state placed their petitions before him and tax officials presented their accounts. So you can see these are the construction of दीवाने आम and this is the construction of दीवाने खास. ये सारे जो ज़्यादातर हमें जो main these are the main architecture and you can see how beautiful they are being constructed. ऑल्सो मुगल कोर्ट को जैसे कि हम पेंटिंग में देख रहे हैं वहाँ पे फेस्टिवल्स भी बहुत अच्छे से सेलिब्रेट किए जाते थे ऑन स्पेशल ओकेजन सच एज एनिवर्सरी ऑफ एसेशन टू द थ्रोन, ईद, शब्दी बारात एंड होली. द कोर्ट वॉज फुल ऑफ लाइफ. Mughal kings celebrated 3 major festivals a year: the solar and lunar birthdays of the monarch and Nowruz, the Iranian New Year on the vernal equinox. Equinox is basically a phenomena जहाँ पे डे और नाइट इक्वल होते हैं. जितना बड़ा दिन होता है उतनी ही बड़ी नाइट भी होती है, दोनों इक्वल टाइम के होते हैं. On his birthdays, the monarch was weighed against various commodities which were then distributed in charity. So this was all about the grandeur of the Mughal court. We will further complete this chapter in our upcoming modules.